A little over a month ago, we got some exciting news in the world of Digimon Virtual Pets in the form of a collaboration between the Digital Monster Color and the Monster Hunter franchise. The joint effort was incredibly popular, selling out of pre-orders twice due to extreme demand. Those devices will be releasing in spring of next year, and with the crossover doors swung open, many of us assumed we'd see another crossover sometime in the future. While I figured it may be 4 to 6 months before we heard about anything new, it turns out we wouldn't have to wait any time at all. The Monster Hunter pre-orders have barely ended, and much to our surprise, we already know what the next collaboration will be: Godzilla. So this was something that was revealed at Godzilla Fest 2024, and this was a very special Godzilla Fest because this is apparently the 70th anniversary of the franchise, which is very exciting. So prime time to do crossovers like this, and I don't know fully other things that Godzilla may be doing or not doing right now to celebrate, but the one that we care about, of course, is this one, the crossover with the Digital Monster Color, same as we saw with the Monster Hunter franchise. So this is being called Godzilla versus Digital Monster Color specifically. We see the little Godzilla sprite and Agumon sprite up there facing against each other. And it looks like we've got two different devices going on here. Most likely two different colors. Whether or not there'll be different versions entirely remains to be seen. With the Monster Hunter, we had two different colors, but they were the same version, same exact monsters on both devices. We may see that here as well. And as far as when and how much and all that, the details related to availability on this device, we don't know anything yet. This is just a teaser. There's barely anything to even review in this news segment, so this might be a little bit shorter than my usual videos of this nature. But we don't know almost anything about this device. We know a few things. We'll go over what we do know. But price, no idea. When will we be able to pre-order it? No idea. When will it release? No idea. So that's the current state of things. But what we do know, so we see those two sprites I mentioned before. They're both 16 by 16 sprites, as opposed to the higher resolution 48 by 48 sprites used on the Monster Hunter devices. Now, the sprites themselves will still be 48 by 48, but they're just basically 16 sprites upscaled to 48 pixels. So that's what we're expecting to see here, and that makes a lot of sense, because you may know that there's a little bit of history when it comes to Godzilla and Digimon. We'll go over that more a little bit here in a second, but you may notice that Godzilla over there he bears a striking resemblance to another well-known Digimon, so we'll go over that, don't you worry. So the cool thing I want to point out, though, is that we have both the Godzilla sprite and we have the Agumon sprite. This is versus Digimon Color. This is making it sound like, and there's other details that lead to this too, that we will have not only the Godzilla monsters to raise, and how many of those there will be, hard to say, but that we would be raising Digimon alongside them to fight each other. So that seems pretty cool to me. I don't know which Digimon would be included. Agumon seems like a shoo-in if this does indeed imply that. It could also just be a graphic, because that's the iconic Agumon sprite, and this is saying, oh, it's Agumon's here just representing the idea of Digimon Virtual Pets. It's not actually here to say it's in the Virtual Pet. But I don't know. From what we've seen, I kind of feel like Agumon might actually be in there, and what other Digimon, hard to say. What kind of mix will we have between Godzilla monsters and Digimon monsters, digital monsters, I guess? Hard to say. Don't know what that would be. I'm hoping for a good chunk of Godzilla monsters to appear, since that's going to be what's really special about this device, and that the Digimon presence will be limited. There's also the possibility that one device could be Digimon dedicated, the other could be Godzilla dedicated. I think that's less likely, personally, but there's a lot of ways this could go. We just simply don't know as of yet what all is going to be entailed with this. So one other thing we do know, though, is that there is a new Digimon that's been created specifically for this device. And I'm assuming it's a Digimon, at least. I'm assuming it's being referred to as a Digimon. Same way in that we had the Greymon, Rathalos, and Garurumon, Zenogre. Or other way around, I should say. Rathalos, Greymon, and Zenogurumon. There we go. That's what they are. The same way we had those at Monster Hunter, those were being classified as Digimon, so this is likely being classified as a Digimon as well. And if you've got eyes, then you can clearly see that this is a War Greymon with Godzilla features. And yeah, I'm going to give you a heads up right now as well. This is a good time to say, I don't know much about Godzilla, and people are going to be like, well, you didn't know about Monster Hunter either. Do you do anything? And it's like, yes, I do, I promise. There are other interests I have other than Digimon. Not usually Japanese franchises, though. Digimon's one of the few Japanese franchises I really mesh with. Although there's some, well, I'm not going to get into all the specifics of what I like and don't like right now, but yeah, Godzilla's just never been something I've been super huge into. I've not seen very few of the movies. I saw the 1998 one, for better or for worse, as well as the American, was it 2014 was the first new Godzilla movie in America? I don't remember. So I've seen those, and people have been telling me to watch some of the most recent Japanese ones lately. I say most recent. I feel like it's been probably 5 or 6 years since they've come out by now with how much I've been sleeping on it. So I do intend to watch them at some point, just because a few of my friends are way into it, and it's a long-running franchise, super popular. I'm sure there's a ton to love about it. I just never took the time, so maybe now's the best time for me to do that. So either way, that's this guy. So I don't know if there's like a specific Godzilla that it references, or if there's anything here that clues into some kind of callback in there. Those pink spikes look super familiar to me, like with all the energy coming off of them. I feel like I've seen a Godzilla like that before, but I don't know. If you know which Godzilla that is, feel free to shout it out in the comments, and I will nod my head and agree, because I don't know any better. So yeah, that's what this guy is. Now, the thing is, though, is that this guy being a War Greymon variant is a little disappointing, and some people have pointed that out as well, because you may or may not know, and this is pretty common knowledge in the world of Digimon V Pets, but the Digital Monster version 5 is very much a Godzilla virtual pet, and rumor has it that there was at some point supposed to be a Godzilla virtual pet released, and they scrapped it and it got repurposed to the version 5. I don't know how true that rumor is, but it's certainly believable for sure, but as the actual truth behind it, I don't think they've ever come out and made an official statement saying, here's why all the version 5 Digimon are Godzilla monsters. Because you got like Deltamon is King Ghidorah, and you got Hedorah is Raремon, a whole bunch of parallels that are very, very clear once you've actually been pointed out to them, which is why their sprites specifically look so vastly different from the artwork that Kenji Watanabe would later create from them. Like Tuskmon looks nothing like its sprite, because Tuskmon was supposed to be, what was it, Destoroyah or Space Godzilla? I don't remember. Whichever one has the big spikes. Again, I'm not a big Godzilla person. I don't remember these things very well. So either way, I feel like there could have been a better Digimon than War Greymon for this. I mean, it's still cool. This looks like a great Digimon. I'm not going to knock the design whatsoever. It's just a little disappointing when you have, Dark Tyrannomon is a Godzilla stand-in. What if we could actually make Dark Tyrannomon look more like Godzilla in some way? Or even put in Metal Tyrannomon and work that in somehow. There's a lot of options they could have gone with here, and yeah, and I'm very curious for the Digimon side if they'll include any of those V5 monsters alongside this, because, I get it. Agumon's the mascot of the series. War Greymon is going to win out against most other Digimon every time, but if we can get a few of those V5 callbacks, I think that'd be neat. Love for them to make some kind of official declaration on the connection there, just so we can kind of bury that story for good and say whether or not it's true, but I don't think we'll get that. At most, they might reference the old Mothra Tamagotchi in which Godzilla showed up. I don't remember if it was a secret character or if it was an event. Either way, there is a Godzilla on the Mothra Tamagotchi, and will we see Mothra on this? Maybe. I think as far as other monsters you might see, Mothra is certainly one of the higher up theirs, because even I know who that is, and even I know who King Ghidorah is. These are big popular ones. If this was 5 years ago, I would have also said I hope Gamera shows up, but eventually I learned that Gamera isn't a Godzilla monster and it's a completely different thing, but he's a big old rocket turtle, so obviously I like it. But yeah, that's about all I'm going to say about the design and possible monsters that'll be included in this. On the Digimon side, just, again, it'd be cool if we put in V5s, but really there's no indication other than Agumon, possibly its whole line showing up. There's not really much else speculation we can make as far as what Digimon will actually be included for right now. So, and then we've got this image here that they used, and this is Godzilla and Agumon facing off. And those of you who had a Pendulum Z, the first wave of which had Agumon on it, and has ever used Agumon in battle, should recognize that bottom right image right away. That's a cut-in image from the Pendulum Z. So on the Digital Monster X and Pendulum Z, which most of the people who watch this channel enjoy Digimon V Pets know about the Digital Monster X at least, when you're in battle and you have your super hit, there will be a little brief cut-in image that appears of your Digimon with higher detailed art than the sprite would normally display. Just a quick look at its face as it's about to do the image. And that's what we're seeing here. And, I want to believe that this is implying that we'll have cut-ins return for this device. And that's why they went to the trouble of coloring this Agumon one, and why they went to the trouble of fully creating this Godzilla one. That would be absolutely phenomenal to see, because that was a feature that was sorely missed on the Digital Monster Color and Digimon Pendulum Color. Would have loved to have cut-ins on those devices, but if they're returning here, that'd be great. Now, this could be just a little promotional image and nothing more. This could just be something they slap together to show the idea of Godzilla versus Digimon. And I'm not going to rule that out, but I feel like there's a good possibility that we could see cut-ins, and if so, I think that'd be really great. Would love to have those back for this device. Definitely a lovely little touch as far as virtual pet polish goes. So Apart from that, though, there's not really anything else we know. That really is the extent of what they've told us so far. This has just been a teaser. There's not really any details. There's certainly nothing about price. There's nothing about date. We do know that the Monster Hunter device is going to be releasing between March and May of next year. Or is it February? I don't know. They've got several dates. Either way, I'm not expecting that this could release anytime before June. And with that being the case, I'd expect a pre-order period to happen sometime in December or January if it would be releasing that soon. Or they could surprise me and have the pre-orders open as soon as I post this video. Who knows? How out of date will this be? Let me know in the comments if this video is out of date. Please don't. I'll already know. So, we don't know for sure when that's going to... We actually don't even know for sure if it will be P-Bandai, but I'm assuming that it's going to be a premium Bandai device where you're going to have to put in the pre-order ahead of time and wait 6 months for it to actually release, because that's generally how they sell these devices. That's how they sold the Monster Hunter one, which had 3 pre-order periods. Will this be as sought after and popular as Monster Hunter? I feel like Godzilla's, just by sheer length of existence and popularity throughout time, has to have a bigger fan base than Monster Hunter, but I'm not sure. Monster Hunter is pretty darn popular, so I don't know if the crossover between people who want a virtual pet and Godzilla is as strong as it clearly was in Monster Hunter, so we could see there be multiple pre-order periods for this if it sells out quickly too. Very interested to see what the reaction from the general Godzilla fandom is going to be for this one. So again, we'll see when they release more details about when it's going to come out. I'll make sure to have a video on that to tell you more about those things specifically. And this, of course, opens up the question of, is the Digital Monster Color the new Tamagotchi Nano? So if you're not familiar with the Tamagotchi Nano series, I've mentioned it in my videos in the past. It was originally just a small Tamagotchi, similar to the Tamagotchi Mini, but different in several ways. And the idea became that there was their device to cross over with other franchises, and it crossed over with a ton of different franchises. We've got Western franchises like Star Wars and Toy Story that you can see here. We've got anime like Neon Genesis Evangelion and Demon Slayer. We've got video games like Pac-Man and Kingdom Hearts. There's even a Pokemon one with Eevee. I've got a few of these that we have here. I've got Pac-Man, I've got the Gudetama, I've got a few others. I don't play with them too frequently because Nanos are very simple devices that don't offer me a whole bunch of enjoyment, but they are neat, they're cute, and they're lovely little things to see. And yeah, this is kind of what Tamagotchi's been doing for the past several years, is crossing over with just a huge variety of franchises to just put out these cute little designs with the little characters on them. And they've even got a colorful series now, which they've got Detective Conan, which I just received my Detective Conan Nano Colorful not too recently. I haven't started it up yet to see what it's like. I also should say that while I am a Detective Conan fan, I am mostly a fan of the first episodes that were dubbed into English back in the day, which most of the series is not dubbed in English, and so I have not kept up with almost everything that's happened. I have no idea who most of the people on my screen are right there. So actually, I know maybe most. Left side's pretty easy to pick out. Right side, not so much. Oh, no, wait, no, I know those. Yeah. I know more of these guys than I thought I did. Okay, I probably know like 75% of these people. That's what I'll say. I certainly don't know who the guy in the white top hat is. I know his name is Kid the Phantom Thief or whatever. It says it right there on his device, but no idea who he actually is. Is he secretly Conan? I don't know. And no one tell me. I don't want to know. And then on the right side, we've got Hololive. I have no clue about this franchise whatsoever. I'm sorry. This is not even remotely my wheelhouse, and that's all I'm going to say. But there you go. Those are examples of the Tamagotchi Nano Colorful series that have come out that they're continuing to do. And you may notice with Tamagotchi that they are throwing things in that are most decidedly nothing even adjacent to virtual pet appropriate. Like on the Detective Conan one, like people evolve into each other that have, that it's just completely random the way that it works out. It's like, oh, you start off as Conan, but Conan can become Richard Moore or whatever his Japanese name is, and he can be, I don't know what else he can become, but it's just, it doesn't really make sense, but it's neat, right? Like they have to have the evolution mechanic in there because it's a Tamagotchi, but humans evolving into other humans doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. They're not monsters or being raised or little creatures, they're just other humans. So with Digimon, the approach they're taking, it's a lot more natural, the fits that they're going with. So Monster Hunter is a magnificent fit. It's not something that it on its own is really a monster raising franchise. I know apparently the Stories games delve into that, but it's still monsters, and they're monsters that have different forms and would fit really well into this. Same with Godzilla. Godzilla has tons of monsters. Those monsters have different forms over the years. You got Burning Godzilla, you got Mecha Godzilla, you got all those guys. So these monster raising mechanics and the evolution mechanics fit really well with those other franchises, and I can expect to see Digimon, or I should hope, I guess. I should hope to see Digimon kind of follow that suit. I'd love to see these theme-appropriate crossovers continue in that way, and not so much delve into the let's just crossover with anything like Tamagotchi Nano does. And to that end, we've got a few good options for potential crossovers, including Metarot, or Metabots in the US, for those of you that grew up with it here. So Metabots, of course, has their mobile game going on, Metarot S, which has crossed over with Digimon in the past. With those guys on the left there, we've got Grey Wars, Garuru Metal, and Omega Knight, that's what it is. There's also a Digimon based on Metabots called Ometamon, which is pretty freaking cool. And so this is a very obvious choice. In the latest crossover, we've got Mugendramon and Apocalypse over there, as well as, I think, Magnamon and a few others have popped up. So they're obviously very crossover friendly, Metarot is. And I can absolutely see a Metarot virtual pet happen. And I'm going to apologize since I keep switching back between Metabot and Metarot. It's whatever. They're both. You know which one I mean every time I say it. So I can definitely see that being a thing. I would love to be able to have that. We already saw that crossover occur even with the Vital Bracelet, where we were able to raise Metabee and Rokusho. I'd like to see that expanded to more Metabots and not just the main two, as much as I do love the main two. I've got model kits of them sitting on my desk right up here. I very much love the original Metabot show. I never got big into the games or anything, but the show I was a big fan of, and just the concept in general. Absolutely loved it. And I would love to see that come to a virtual pet with more of those Metabots available on there to be able to raise. And yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I would love to see it. And of course, they've got their history with LCD toys as well, with the old Metarot, which, yeah, I think it's a clear shot to be able to do this. And I want to say I expect them to do this, but nothing is certain. I don't want to get people's hopes up. I really, really want them to. The pieces are in place. Please, Bandai, make it happen. Would buy this immediately. As far as other franchises that would make sense go, so while on its own, Transformers, I wouldn't say is an obvious one, it's at least very crossover friendly, especially as of late. So Transformers recently had their 40th anniversary celebration. A lot of anniversaries this year. We got 70th for Godzilla. Digimon's 25th animation anniversary was this year, but their actual series anniversary was 2 years ago at this point. But either way, Transformers is very crossover friendly. They've done them over and over again over the years. I think there's definitely potential there. I don't know if I'd say it's a perfect fit, but one of the things that Transformers recently crossed over with is Zoids, and Zoids I do think would be a perfect fit. I've said that before. I think the big robotic mechanical animals that also, again, have different forms. So how many Ligers are there that you could evolve into? There's a lot of really great options there I could see with Zoids. And again, Transformers maybe a little bit there. I can see, raising a Starscream and into a Thundercracker, into a Skywarp. I don't know. No. See, the more I say it, the less Transformers make sense, but I could still see it happening just because of how crossover friendly that series is. So definitely some good options there. Those are a few of the ones that I think would be the most sensible, the ones that would work the best in the Digimon aesthetic, especially Metarot and Zoids specifically. And then as far as when you talk about things that work best, there are, of course, other monster raising franchises, right? And there's the two that I think are the absolute least likely never going to happen, which would be Pokemon and Dragon Quest. I think those are two of the, well, obviously Pokemon's the biggest monster raising game series in the world and always will be. There's nothing that will ever change that fact. And because of the biggest, Pokemon actually creates a ton of LCD toys on their own. I don't know if you know that or not, but every new generation, they've got like another Pokeball toy that comes out, which is pretty freaking cool. They're not virtual pets or anything, which is a bummer. The closest they came to virtual pets on their own was the Pocket Pikachu, which really wasn't a pet. And they also had a little Pokemon mini game on that little Pokemon mini console. I don't know if you remember that one. That one also had a virtual pet, but they did do the Eevee crossover, of course, but that was just a crossover, and they haven't gone back to that yet, which surprises me, honestly. I would have thought if they did one, they'd do more, but I don't think Pokemon is super as big into crossovers as some other franchises are, especially when it comes to competing franchises. And while you could easily say it's not really a competition, now is it? Pokemon's far, far and ahead of other monster raising games. The optics of it still may not be something they care about, and again, they make their own devices anyway, so I see that as being less of a possibility. Same thing somewhat with Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest had the Arc and Death back in the day, which was a very fun little virtual pet. Very, very well beloved. One of the most popular ones outside of Digimon and Tamagotchi as far as virtual pet enthusiasts go. And Dragon Quest Monsters is still making games to this day. They're still, I wouldn't say a big franchise, but still big enough. One of the bigger monster raising sims, of course. And I could potentially see that happen, but I don't know how keen they would be on that personally. So I think these two, just from the general feeling and just how they're bigger, especially, and occupying the same kind of space that Digimon occupies, I think they'd prefer to do things on their own, more than likely, as opposed to something like Monster Hunter, where yes, Monster Hunter's huge, way bigger than Digimon, and doesn't need Digimon to collab with it or anything, but they don't have any space, or they don't have any game in the VPET market, and so why not collab with Digimon to do that? So I see both Pokemon and Dragon Quest as less likely to want to fill that niche by doing a crossover. They'd just do it themselves if they really wanted to. Apart from Pokemon and Dragon Quest, there are other monster raising games, of course. We have series like Monster Rancher and Shin Megami Tensei. Shin Megami Tensei being what a lot of people consider like the first monster collection game, and I'm not that into that series and haven't really played any of its games, so I don't know what the full history there is or anything. But either way, both of those series have been somewhat active. Shin Megami Tensei, of course, split off into Persona, which is kind of its bigger franchise now, I would think, at least based on how I see people react to it. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. Maybe my interpretation on that is wrong, but Shin Megami Tensei still has a presence and has... Both of these series have had new games come out in recent times, as well as remakes of other games that they're putting out, so somewhat active franchises. I could see them wanting to cross over a little bit, even though they're in the same space. And then we also have dormant franchises, things that haven't put out new games in a few years, like Fossil Fighters has been quite some time. That's another big one where I could have seen a Digimon crossover in another time. And Yokai Watch, which was really big for a while there, but it seems to have really dropped off as of late. So I don't know if either of those would come back up to do a crossover or not, so maybe less likely there. As far as non-monster raising franchises, but franchises with monsters, there's obviously a lot of franchises that just have monsters, so plenty of options out there. And I can go on for days about how I'd like a Lord of the Rings virtual pet where you can raise an orc or a hobbit or a number of other things, or a Metroid V-Pet, which I'm just saying, the Metroid V-Pet would write itself. You start off with a baby Metroid, it evolves into a Metroid larva, and then evolves into either an Alpha Metroid, or depending on what type of Metroid it is, it could become the Super Metroid, or it could go all the way up to a Queen Metroid, or Metroid Prime, or Dark Samus. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because I can go on about that for a long while. I've obviously thought about this. As far as other franchises go that have monsters, I think there is one connection that I saw someone make that is honestly a really good fit. And while it's not a franchise I'm super into, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of name share, or I should say, how do I put this? Market share, I guess. It has a lot of the same market share that franchises like Digimon and Pokemon do. All of them came around at the same time, all of them had card games, all of them had shows that were hugely popular, so I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is certainly one of those that is a really good fit. And there's a lot of good monsters in there, and you'll see in this panel here from the original comic, before they got really into dual monsters, they even had a episode or a chapter, I guess it is, about raising little virtual pets, and you can see right there that with the prongs and everything, that is very clearly based on Digimon. So there is reasons, there are connections in the past for this sort of thing, and just overall things like the Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon, those like very famous monsters, they'd fit really, really well into a Digimon virtual pet, I would say. So as far as speculation goes, that's all I'm going to do for right now. Obviously, I can go on about all these things forever and come up with a whole bunch of ideas as to, oh, wouldn't it be cool to see this? Wouldn't it be cool to see this? But I think the message here is clear, is that we will continue to see these crossovers occur. So we had the Monster Hunter one, we had the Godzilla one. I'd be very surprised if it ended at just that. And will this be just kind of what Digimon does for the next little bit? I certainly hope that's not all they're going to do. I hope that we'll have another, like, new Digimon virtual pet, especially if it's not going to be a remake of a previous Digimon virtual pet, if it breaks out of the using the brick and does something different, or even if they reuse the brick like they did with the Digital Monster X and make a new device series that uses the same shell but has completely different gameplay, I'd be down for that too. But I just hope they do something that is purely Digimon still, instead of leaning just into crossovers. But these crossovers are also very, very, very successful, and probably more successful than their other devices have been. I don't think that the previous P. Bandai releases for Digimon have been unsuccessful, mind you, but these have just been more successful. So I'm hoping we can live in a world with both, is all I want to say. So either way, it's very neat. Let me know what you think about this. If you are excited about the Godzilla crossover, if you're a big Godzilla fan and this is the thing you've been waiting for. I know a lot of people, that was like one of the first things they went to when the Monster Hunter one came out, is they're like, oh man, I hope they do a Godzilla one next. And congratulations all of you that said that, because there you go, you get your Godzilla one. So very exciting to see. As soon as there's more information, I will be making a video to report on that as well. If you are in the Discord server, you will get pinged anytime big news like this pops up. I pinged everyone late last night to let them know that this is happening. So if you want to get those alerts right away, definitely join the Discord server, and you'll get notified anytime that big things like this come out. And of course, any other news will be posted in there as well. So that is going to do it for now. So I'll see you around the Discord server if you want to pop in there to chat or ask questions. And yeah, until next time, bye.